It's day 6, and I feel like I had a productive day. I definitely gave in to some multitasking. I feel like I have a slight excuse because I was watching the finale of The Bachelorette, which is like, kind of feels like a waste of time if that's all I'm doing. So I was also taking care of some financial things in another window. I mean, there's certain things like that where I can't remember the name of it, but multitasking, but where you're doing two different types of activities that don't require the same part of the brain, kind of like how we can listen to music while doing certain things. Um, I really can't listen to music with lyrics when I'm like reading or doing anything that demands my intellect or attention. But with shows like that, I can, and shows that I've seen before, I can occasionally work with stuff like that on. Not like, where I have to be really present, but that kind of work where I'm just like piddling around, plugging in numbers and stuff. So anyway, a little bit of multitasking, which I know doesn't necessarily help the rewiring part that I'm trying to do. So I will try to rein that in. I'm like noticing, naming, owning, and I will work on reining it in, to see how I can just look at it not as like, oh, well, I can't do this. Like it doesn't hurt me to do this. I can do it just fine, but remind myself that it's in service of literally changing my neural circuits. So in that case, it's worth not multitasking. Um, let's see, there's a few little examples I wanted to share from today too. So I have to laugh at myself. I wanted to do yoga, and kind of like I was sharing in yesterday's video, if you watched that about meditation, I've been sort of avoiding it because there's the decision paralysis around, oh my God, so many options, choosing one. And as I was saying yesterday too, it's like I've just named it FOMO, fear of missing out on peak experience. Of like, I know I'm gonna over analyze this decision and spend too much time looking at options, and then I'm gonna get that decision brain fog fatigue thing. So I knew that was gonna happen with yoga, and I was right. I guess I could have gone in with the attitude of like, I'm not doing it. But part of why I did that was, well, I'm gonna pick a series, and that way it's telling me, I don't have to choose multiple times. I just choose this first time. And also the silly thing is, I know that I'm choosing a series that I'm doing. My mom's doing it with me and bajillion other people in the world. Yoga with Adriene is launching her new 30-day series on January 1st. So I'm like, okay, I only need something to get me through January 1st. So instead of just like choosing one video today, no big deal, I'm like, I'll choose a series. That way I only choose once. But then I had to look at 18 different yoga series and analyze that which one would be the best option for the next like 8 days. But I ended up actually, I know the nitty gritty is like maybe interesting for some people and bores other people to tears, but I chose Yoga Every Day on Gaia. They have 457 episodes of this. There was a stretch of time where they were releasing a new one every day. And most of them are 15 minutes, some of them are 30 minutes. So they're really perfect in the sense of like, really, I can always make time for that in the morning. And if I'm like say the practice for that day happens to be a restorative and I want to do active, or happens to be, vice versa, I can still do that one. And if I'm really hell-bent on doing another type, like I can add that in. But this way it takes away the decision fatigue of, from now until the 31st. And then after I do yoga with Adriene, I keep going through all 457 of them, or until I come up with a different plan. I just do the next day. I think of Steve Jobs, often used as the example of like, he wore one thing and he spent his brain power on other more important decisions, because decision fatigue is real. And when you combine the reality of decision fatigue for anyone making lots of decisions in a day with ADHD brain, it is like recipe for disaster. So luckily, like the clothes thing, that's never felt like, I don't feel like I use much decision power on that. It's very simple for me most of the time. choosing my yoga meditation stuff is like much more challenging. Like choosing any kind of content is much more fatiguing for me. So that's the kind, like that needs to be my black shirt and jeans or whatever, is I need to just like most of the time in life have these things, these decisions on somewhat of an autopilot. And what I realized today, laughing at myself while I had 8 tabs open looking at 8 different yoga series, I just sort of had the realization like I am not a person who can afford the luxury of FOMO. I just need someone to say, here's your yoga practice you're doing today, and me to be like, great, cool, didn't have to decide, perfect, love it. So that's, even though I sort of already knew that about myself, I feel like it clicked in a deeper way today, having had that experience and just watching myself feel so like powerless to it. So yeah, it's really helpful because I will find and use tools that just decide it for me, and I can feel good doing that. The other thing too is like, okay, so say I came across this self-love yoga practice from Koya Webb, and I'm like, oh, but I want to do that, and I'm missing out. It's ridiculous. Thank you, Monkey Mind. I can literally add it to my all these programs. We can usually just add something to my Goodreads list, add something to my Gaia list. Like there's ways that we can so easily add these things. But in general, if it's an idea, if it's a course, if it's whatever, something that there's not so easily just like a click to add button. My friend, and I've heard this in other contexts, we usually hear of like the parking lot when we're in like a workshop or something. And it's like, we're just going to put all questions in the parking lot over here on the whiteboard, and we'll come back to them at the end if we don't get to them. But so my friend Patrick used the word parking lot for like, I think that's what he said for this idea of like, just put ideas of like, oh, I want to do this course. Oh, I want to listen, this thing, put it in the parking lot. You don't have to, then it's somewhere, you don't have to act on it. You're not going to lose it. And being the way that I am, I'm like, well, that sounds boring though. And so I just decided in my Evernote, I just created an idea and activity bank, which sounds much more exciting than a parking lot. So I went ahead and put one thing in my idea and activity bank, and I will keep adding things there as that literal reminder to myself that I don't need to do all the things. I can save them for later. I can put them in the queue. They will be waiting for me. And I did do my day 1 of Coming Home to Yourself meditation from Sarah Blondin that I was raving about yesterday, and it was lovely, and I'm looking forward to day 2 tomorrow. If anyone wants to join me in the 30-day Yoga with Adriene Breathe series starting January 1st, would love to have you in and share some comments on that experience. I've done her 30-day things before, and everyone knows Yoga with Adriene. If you've ever done YouTube yoga, I love her style. She doesn't take herself too seriously and yet really honors the practice and builds a beautiful foundation for people no matter how new or experienced you are. So that's my plug for today. And had a new podcast episode come out today, so I was real productive this morning getting all that done. There's so many moving parts. Eventually someday it'd be awesome to have a VA to help me with that kind of stuff, but I also kind of enjoy doing it. So anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.